Peace and Islam. Welcome unto the Amexem-Moor-Empire, Moor's Internet Televideo-Network, or M.I.T.N for short. It is a part of the Imperial Broadcasting Agency. Today's date on the Amexem-Moor calendar is Peace Day, 21st of Saharmash, the year 301, 630. I am Honorable Noble Tina Wood-Ill, and I serve as the lead video broadcasting agent, and I shall be your hostess for this broadcasting segment. This is segment 29, entitled Current Deliberations for Fiscal Budget for the year 301, 631, Islam. So we welcome back to the segment His Imperial Majesty and Enenu El Bey. Peace and Islam, His Imperial Majesty.
Peace, Heaven, Light, Islam. I'm Tina. Good to see you. How you faring this evening?
Peace and Islam. All is well. Glad to have you back.
Islam. Happy to be back, Islam. So you said you want a discussion about the deliberations of the Imperial Council regarding fiscal budget proposal 301631?
Islam, that is correct.
All right. I can give you some generalities, or if you have anything in particular you want to know, which one, how you want to proceed?
Islam, generalities will suffice for this segment. We just want to see how things are coming so far.
All right. Well, we've had several sessions. I've convoked the Majlis al-Shura, the Amexem-Moor-Empire Imperial Council being assembled for the purpose of our constitutional duty of Article 6, Section 2, Clause 1, to make sure that you have a fiscal budget law that's competent, practical, and sensible. We have had no addendums, insertions, or amendments into the fiscal budget proposal before the Imperial Council. There are some items that have been presented, particularly for the Minister for the Journey, Travel, and Transport, His Excellency Grand Noble M.I.T.N Hotep Bey. They have not been inserted. They have not been as an addendum, or there's not enough to qualify as an amendment. 6 items. And again, they have not been formally placed into the budget proposal. There's going to be some discussion on all of them. And after the discussion is complete on all of them, if need be, they'll be inserted or as an addendum into the budget proposal before the Imperial Council as of right now. That said, it's been a smooth process regarding what we have covered thus far. That's just dealing with block monies and dealing with items, the line items. The central issue at hand is, what are we going to do about inflation or deflation for the duration of what could be the next fiscal budget law? That is of extreme importance. I use the word extreme for a reason. The reason why the deliberations have been tense and rather intensive. We have never had to deal with factors and dynamics regarding inflation or deflation the way we have with this particular budget proposal. We have seen the quote-unquote silver price internationally more than double since Moor's reemergence day. Silver doesn't generally move that fast, that far. We've never seen it. So, as a rule, it's happened once, where we have had to attach a rider to what became a fiscal budget law regarding what to do about inflation for the duration of what became the fiscal budget law at that time. it's not that we can't not do that. The language of the writer, I can't speak for the legislative branch of the imperial government. I would suspect there's not an imperial council member that is willing to be associated with a writer that would be the equivalent of giving a quote-unquote blank check to pay for everything that they make fiscal budget law, regardless of what happens with the quote-unquote silver price. So the attachment of a writer on the form is one thing. The substance, the language that can go into it, getting the imperial council members to stick their necks that far out, that's a tall ask. That's asking a lot. We are fiscally responsible in the service of all. We always have been. And extenuating circumstances sometimes require extraordinary measures. It may or may not come to that. I do not know. At this stage of development, the Imperial Council and I, we do not know. We've never seen anything like this. And we are adjusting course constantly. The amount of discussions had, the hours spent, and with global affairs being as they are impacting a lot. So we have to improvise, adapt, overcome, and figure this out. Constitutionally, we are required. And we shall make that happen in your service. That's as far as I can go with generalities. Do you have any follow-on questions for me to answer that could assist you further? If so, I'm happy to answer those questions. Islam.
I'm glad you brought up global events, if you will, and went a little bit into how it's impacting silver prices. So I know it does affect the process and progression of the fiscal budget. I wanted you to, if you're able to, go into a little bit more detail as regarding to what is happening in the foreign venue and how that's affecting us as nationals.
Islam, foreign venues are doing a lot of things these days. And again, as always, they do impact supplies, supply routes, supply chains, the works. And all those things can impact what could realistically be put into a fiscal budget proposal. We talk about that. Yes. However, there are additional factors that could be geopolitically realigning. Parties were using rare earth minerals like a weapon. We discussed that before too. However, there's ways to get high heat resistant magnets without using rare earths. You have particular parties who have been coordinating their efforts to destroy what some call the quote unquote petrodollar, and they're using silver as the weapon to do it. Since virtually everyone across the planet are operating non-substance quote unquote based economies, and our commerce and trade jurisdiction does not operate that way, a lot of them are starting to gather and hoard every ounce of silver and gold they can get their hands on, because they know that they have to hedge, because quote unquote currencies are going to be going away. And digital and cryptos and all that token nonsense, the unicorn, better known as the UMU, this is where they plan to go. So you have export controls by a particular party on the planet that processes 70% of the silver on the market. And they're not exporting to Western powers. That took effect a few Earth days back. So parties have been preparing by stockpiling silver because the markets globally, they're trading derivatives, a bunch of pieces of paper saying that they're good for an ounce of silver, like a claim check. So you've got over 300 different claim checks for every available ounce of silver on the planet right now. Some are saying, I don't want to be paid in cash. I don't want any more derivatives. I want the actual physical silver. I got 346 pieces of paper here for that one particular ounce, but there's not 346 ounces. There's not enough silver. You have a 200 to 250 million ounces silver deficit per Earth year for at least 4 Earth years now. So there's more silver demand than silver by 250 million ounces of silver. So where's all this silver going? Solar panels and into batteries for EVs. You don't need the batteries for EVs anymore. That is obsolete technology. However, they're playing that particular game. Same way oil has been obsolete for over 100 Earth years. You don't need lithium-ion batteries and nickel-cadmium batteries. You don't need batteries anymore. You don't need the silver for that anymore. However, that's the game that they're playing. Likewise, yes, solar panels they're effective. Yes, that's true. However, you don't need solar panels to generate electrical power. The technologies exist that you don't need to use all that solar for solar panels or for EV batteries. So this is actually artificially created. I don't have time to cover all the dynamics. I can lay that for you. It'll take me hours. So the same parts that put the export controls on silver being exported, that cover 70% of the processed silver on the planet, they also make the overwhelming majority of solar panels on the planet. And they're using that silver for those solar panels. So it's a closed loop game that happens to be used as the weapon to break the quote-unquote petrodollar using silver. So we're like, this is new for y'all. It's not new for us. Platinum, gold, and silver is the only medium of exchange for the Amexem-Moor-Empire jurisdiction and venue anyway. So they're coming on to our standard. So it doesn't make us, never mind what they do. If they're anyone that's outside of our venue acquiring things from us, they have to use platinum, gold, and silver to do it. So when we start pulling the avocados off our trees and the apples off our trees, well, depending on how much you're getting, it's going to cost you X amount of silver in coin form or X amount of gold in coin form. And I did say there's geopolitical realignment. They didn't just go into South Amexem recently because it was about oil. No, it was a little more complicated than that. The silver mines in that area, that was a grab of the silver to defray what's happening with them because of the export controls. And they're an ally of the parties that had the export controls. So they went in for the oil and the silver mines and the untapped gold. They have massive amounts of gold there. It's untapped largely. They're going in to grab the resources. Now in Tehran, it's a 40 to 60% chance that those that are controlling the guns there won't be doing that much longer. 78 cities and 26 provinces are on fire right now, and the special police, the Basij, I think they call. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it. They're being hunted down. The Revolutionary Guard has also been impacted. However, there are tools that those in charge are using. They're attempting to quell an uprising. The Crown Prince of the last Shah of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, is basically directing, and it's a very strong chance he may become the next Shah of Tehran, Iran. And if that happens, that would be two previous allies turned from particular parties. And that could impact a lot in terms of oil and gold and shipping routes. And a realignment in Northeast Al-Kiblan, misnomer quote-unquote Middle East, because particular parties in Sana'a and other places were being backed by particular parties in Tehran. That can all go away and quickly. Particular rail yards that were made to benefit particular parties in the Middle East, that would go away. That would change dynamics for Azerbaijan and Armenia, because they get another optional way to get to market or have things brought to them through Persia. Things change overnight at that particular point. Also, though, you're talking about an additional 2 to 4 million barrels of oil that will be onto the market potentially in the future. The thing with that is, you already have a 2.6 million barrel oil glut today. That's 2.6 billion barrels of oil, 2.6 million barrels of oil per day more than demand requires. It's going to lower oil prices even further. That will lower transportation costs. That will bring down inflation in certain ways. However, the silver price is not going to care, because they're still dealing with supply and demand, and that's why it's going to remain elevated in costs. Certain things the way they are now could see this thing balloon by another 25 or so, and before by the time you get to Martin Luther King Jr.'s Earth Day celebration, it might hit the 80 to 85 range of worthless paper. By the spring equinox event, it could be anywhere between 100 and 140. It may level out somewhere in there as particular things impacting COMEX and Londinium's silver and what's happening on this ocean in terms of silver supplies. They'll be dwindling and dwindling and dwindling. And if there's a moratorium on particular things, that may stabilize it for a while. I don't think anyone can predict where this is really and truly going. I just know that those silver quote-unquote price numbers I just mentioned are why we're having difficulty determining what inflation is going to look like for our fiscal budget law that could be. So that's the best one to answer what you asked. Do you have any following questions on what I just explained to you, Honorable Tina?
His Imperial Majesty. No further questions, but if you have any final thoughts regarding what each household within the Amexem-Moor-Empire can do in the meantime to stay ready.
We are actually convening to discuss that, not on the coming Love Day, the following Love Day, for a 2-hour compulsory session. We have our standard operating procedures. However, there are particular things that may force things to be expedited. So we plan to discuss that then. I wasn't planning to do another until we convene for the spring equinox event for New Year celebration. And that's 3 months away, over 3 months away. However, here we are in our fourth quarter. And the way things are rolling right now, we may have to convene again, probably on the third Love Day, probably in Karosima. We'll see how it plays. In terms of anything else, I prefer to keep that in-house amongst us. So, with that, is anything to ask me? I'll ask the question if you have any more questions. Islam.
Peace and Islam. That will suffice for this segment. I just want to take this moment and give thanks on behalf of the Morse Internet Televideo Network, our wonderful audience, and myself. So thank you again for taking the opportunity in the moment to answer all of my questions. We thank you for your service. Islam.
Islam.
Islam. And to our wonderful audience, for more information about the Amexem-Moor-Empire, imperial government, operations down to the local level, contact is available through the website that we influence. That website is modernmoormonarchy.squarespace.com. The website again, modernmoormonarchy.squarespace.com. Do show us some love and leave a positive comment and a feedback. I would appreciate it. We all would. So with that, we say thank you, and you're encouraged to share this segment and any of the previous ones with all whom you associate with. And with that, until next time, on behalf of His Imperial Majesty, all of the fellow nationals within the Amexem-Moor-Empire, all across the globe, we say thank you, great health, great prosperity upon all of you and upon all of us. He said Islam.